This is Annie Kid Wolf, and you're watching This is Punk Rock of Punk Globe magazine.
1, 2, 3, 4. Punk rock, punk rock, punk rock. 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 It ain't brain surgery. Punk rock, punk rock, punk rock. 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 It ain't brain surgery. 1, 2, 3, 4.
People around the area, they knew about DOA. And they went like, oh yeah, you're that guy in that band. We're DOA! When you get used to standing up to BS, being in a hardcore punk band, it's perfect training for politics. It was a struggle. I ran for office like 6 times. Hi there, my name's Joe Keithley. I don't think people necessarily wanted to vote for Joe Shithead. I think what happened, they went, well, we usually vote for shitheads, so why not Joe Shithead this time? Now I'm a counselor at Burnaby City Hall.
DOA was bigger than life.
This is somebody who pays attention to real world politics.
They were a huge inspiration for kids.
We listened and we learned. I found out how big the world was.
I've had people go like, oh man, you got into politics. You used to stand for anarchy. We stood up for people's rights. Running in politics is an extension of that. Some of my friends understand, some don't. The ones that don't, that's tough luck. Well, look who's here. My name is Joe Keithley. I'm from the Burnaby Green Party, and I'm running for re-election to council.
To do actual politics, you have to change people's minds.
This is one of the hardest things that you can do.
I'm not surprised that Joe is a politician. You could tell back in the day he was going to move on to something that made a difference.
My entire life, I have stood up to hatred, racism, and sexism.
He's persistent, predictable, he's loud.
Energetic obviously comes to mind.
He's a hard-working guy.
He strikes me as honest, and most importantly, he gives a
You have to make people realize that you're actually going to fight for them.
He stands by those words and by those songs, and he still believes the message.
You know, at DOA we set out to 1, have fun, 2, play loud, obnoxious music, 3, go out and change the world. I'm just getting started here.
Hi, this is Annie Kid Wolf, and here we are with This is Punk Rock, and we are with one of the forefathers of Canadian punk rock. Thank you so much, Joe Keithley, for being here today. This is wonderful to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
It's awesome. I want to just talk to you about punk rock because you are a huge influence to so many people all over the globe in the punk rock world. And I just want to touch base with a few things with that. And I know you're incredibly busy. And so I'm going to be talking to Scott on Sunday about this new documentary that you guys have coming out. Can you tell me a little bit about that documentary and when it's coming out and when people can see it?
Yeah, it's that was named after the first DOA album, Something Bird Change. And Scott, the Blue 5 years ago, around there, I heard that guy elected, wasn't happy with like politics where he lives in the United States, and thought, no, I want to make a documentary about Joe and politics. And like he had seen DOA when he was like 14, was doing like a kid band scene type thing out in DC. So anyways, the doc is like it's about my activism. So I mean, I've been an activist since I was 18. So my, that's an awfully long time. I don't even want to do the bloody math on that. Right? That's too complicated for. Anyways, so it touches on that quite a bit, and it focuses on the band and how the DOA enabled a lot of that stuff. And and then it has a heavy emphasis on when I got reelected to Burnaby City Council in 2022. So that has a really interesting aspects of how that built up, because we go through the campaign from like me knocking on doors. One old couple went like, "Oh, well, I'm a counselor," and I said, "Oh yeah, what else do you do?" So I'm a singer. So I was forced to sing a Gordon Lightfoot song on the spot because I went, "Oh, well, what kind of song? Like, I won't sing a DOA song. That'll lose me the vote."
That's
so it's
awesome.
got a whole bunch of elements in it. As far as being able to view it, we've gone through a bunch of festivals already. We have a deal lined up where we become DVDs and also go to streaming this fall. So you'll be able to see it that way.
Are you guys going to be at TIFF? I thought I saw that.
No, we didn't make TIFF. We did the Florida Film Festival. We did the one in upstate New York, Woodstock, which is great because a couple of little Bad Brains guys showed up. I was going like, what the heck, you guys living in a small town like this for? And it was beautiful country, so I kind of got it. Like it's cool to see them. And showed at the Calgary Film Festival, and Scott's got some more up. There'll be like theatrical releases. So we're talking about showing it in Holland and France this summer, because DOA will be on tour in Europe in July and August.
Wow, that's crazy. That's super cool. I want to touch base on punk rock and the beginning of punk rock. So this is the thing that's so cool, is that you, like a lot of people when I talk to on here, I ask them about their influences, and a big part of them people who've influenced other people are influenced by DOA and by you and by your, your political activism and by the music itself. So can you tell me a little bit about when you started, what you were influenced by, and how you started this incredible empire that you created?
Empire. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was just a kind of a funny thing. I was really into activism. Like, it took me about 30 years to realize my older sister kept bringing home protest music during the Vietnam War when I was about 12 years old. So I heard an awful lot of Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger, who was really fortunate later on to meet and play a show with, and Pierre Paul and Mary, stuff like that. Bob Dylan, like the protest music. She wasn't Jimi Hendrix, which I got into later, was one of my favorites all the time. But he did protest music as well, obviously, right? The great Jimmy. And so I thought that I saw what was going on with the Vietnam War when I was a teenager, and environmental degradation around the United States, Canada, and around the world, and people starting to wake up to the fact that we got to do something about it. And so I thought I would go to university, SFU, to become a civil rights lawyer. I was inspired by, I think it's Wayne Kunstler represented the Chicago 7, I think it is, at the Democratic Convention. Somebody might say, is it the 6 or 8? I can't remember, right? It doesn't matter. And yeah, anyway, so I was inspired by him, and I went to SFU for 4 months. And I didn't become a lawyer. I ended up in a band, and all my lawyer friends said, "You made the right decision, Joe. That was a lot better than being a lawyer." I went, "Oh, okay." So yeah, it's just stuff was happening. It was a tumultuous time, and there's a big buildup of nuclear weapons between Russia and the United States. Obviously, anybody from our generation would remember that type of thing, right? So that kind of led to all that, and then I saw punk rock, because we had this like Jerry Hanna, Dimwit, Brian Gold. We had this really Brad Kent, all fallen friends of mine. They're great guys. We had this really terrible rock band called Stone Crazy, and and we played our first few shows, and of course we got fired and didn't get paid and all that kind of stuff.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and just like that's show business, right? But we started to hear about punk rock, and Dimwit said, "Well, why don't we start a band? Joe, you be the singer, you be Joey Shithead, and we'll call the band the Marching Morons." Right? This was his title. We were going like, "Oh, well, that's kind of catchy." we're like 19, we didn't know jack shit, right? So Anyway, so yeah, so we tried to get a band. We started a band called the Skulls. Played in Vancouver, moved out to Toronto, played out there, broke up, and then got back to Vancouver in February 1978. I put it out in the street, and I found Randy and Chuck and started DOA.
Wow, that's incredible. And yeah, Chuck being so young at
Yeah.
the time too. How old was he when he started?
Well, he was 15, and usually the bar guys were pretty good. They go like, "Who is this kid? He can't come in the bar." I go, "Don't worry, we'll keep him outside till we gotta play," and we sneak him in the back, and like they're just concerned, like the liquor inspection authorities come along, like because like Chuck was 15, I guess Randy was like 20. I must have been 22, so that there was 7 years between us, all three of us.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's a big stretch. So when you guys first started to roll, I know the DOA, that you guys influenced so many people in their music, but also in their activism. So did you decide right off the bat, because of your activism past, to put the music together? Because you guys are a real political band, and there wasn't a lot of that before
Yeah.
you. So were you one of those, you are basically a forefather of punk rock. So did you put those together? And because of course there's the Dead Kennedys and different people who were doing, something similar,
Yeah.
but you guys did it in a completely different way. So
Yeah.
what made you do that?
Well, we said three things DOA. Okay, what's our Chuck, Randy, and I said, what's our goals? Because there's no record labels, there's no interest. Like, let's sign these guys. We'll make them like the Rolling Stones or something like that.
Right.
We secretly were hoping that would happen, but of course it didn't. Right? Who knows? They're coming around with Mick Jagger right now, right? Exchanging riffs, right? But we thought, okay, let's set our goals. We had a band meeting, and we said, okay, we want to play loud, obnoxious, fast punk rock. Okay, we were on track with that. That worked. We want to have fun. It was fun to do it. And the third one, which I threw in, let's go and change the world in our own small way. We have done that. So it's kind of like, and we just started traveling and met Biafra really early on. Like our first trip to San Francisco, we played at the fabulous Mabuhay, run by the late great Dirk Dirksen, what a fantastic individual, really funny guy. Got my career going, and we just this is. And when we got down there, we started playing the States a lot because we thought, boy, California's a lot closer than Toronto. So we just kept playing in California all the time. Like we're down there 4 or 5 times a year, doing whatever the show was offered, Black Flag, DKs, that kind of thing. And it just kind of took off from there. And then we heard about this one thing. This was a real changer. So like in 1979, our old manager said, "Oh, there's this thing in Chicago, and it's the Patti Smith band's going to play it." Oh, wow. We're fans of Patti Smith, and it's called Rock Against Racism. And we had heard about this in the UK. So we put together, we didn't have any money, so we put together a benefit at the Buddha called Rock Against Racism Canada. And we donated some of the money, and some of the money we just used for gasoline to get out to Chicago. And there was like 5,000-6,000 people there, and I made lifelong friends there. And then what really amazed the Americans, though, was like, these guys are from Canada. I thought there was only like hockey and snow up there. What the hell they're talking about? Like race riots, the enemy, World War III. Like people were like kind of blown away by the lyrics, and then they came up and said, "Okay, you got to come out. I'm from Ohio. You got to come play here. I'm from Michigan. You got to play here." It was just like, so it just that multiplied it like crazy. That was a really good thing to do. It's also one of the smartest things you ever do, because that set us up. People went, then we just started traveling. And there's a travel book. I mean, David Grohl had in his series about DOA being the pioneers of this route. So we'd just go anywhere for nothing. Like we didn't get paid, getting paid was a novelty, right? They'd sleep on people's floors and use the kitty litter box for a pillow, right? That kind of accommodation, right? And but it kind of worked out. And so we kept this book with all the numbers in it and people who you could trust, who you couldn't trust. And then my buddy Chuck Tukowski, the old bass player of Black Flag, we started exchanging notes because those guys were traveling. So the big bands like the Ramones, the Clash, they would go, and the DKs, they would go flying somewhere, play some big shows. All great bands, obviously. But Black Flag and DOA would go from town to town to town. I have this great interview that's in the doc with Henry, and Henry's going like, and he's cursing, and he's going like, "You are playing here, here, and here, and we're not. What the hell's going on?" And the interview was great because then me and Henry both burst out laughing, right? So like, he's a great guy, and
wonderful guy.
Yeah, really, really good guy. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's fantastic. One of the things I wanted to ask you too is about when did you decide to start running for political office? Like, when did you decide to do that? Because here you are, this on fire musician that plays to thousands of people, and you shifted your career quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I know you were doing it very parallel and you still do. So that's quite impressive. So I'm wondering, like, when did you make that decision to shift?
Well, when I was a kid, I thought I'd be prime minister. Obviously, I was not rooted in reality. You got to have money to become prime minister, right? Anyways, it was about 96, and there was a provincial election coming up here in British Columbia. And a guy by the name of Tom Hetherington, the organizer for the BC Greens, called me up and said, "Oh, hey, is this Joe Keithley?" I said, "Yeah." And says, "Oh, well, there's an election coming up. We'd like you to be our candidate in North Burnaby." And I said to him, "You know who the fuck you're talking to? You're talking to Joey Shithead. I am running for nobody." And I hung up on the guy. And so about a week later, I saw some more about the election. I'm like, okay, that might be kind of fun. So I phoned the guy back and said, "Yeah, I'll be your candidate." He says, "Great, great." And so the whole thing I got from the Green Party, they gave me 3 cloth signs about a foot across, about a foot high, with 2 little stakes, and I put them on Wellington Avenue. And then I just I have my 2 oldest kids who were young at the time, Jake and Georgia. They're 6 and 8. I got them to come around with me. I bribed them. I would say after we're finished flowering, we'll go to the 7-Eleven. You can pick out whatever candies and sweets you want, right? This was the bribe from their father. Yeah. And so they went around and did the flyers with me, right? And I have one incident that was really crazy, where Georgia, she's only like 6 at the time, was next door to me, and there's this little fence about 3 feet high. The door opens, and this old Doberman pincher comes out and starts going afterwards. And I jump over the fence. I take my flyer bag and I hit the dog in the face about 3 times. Finally, the owner comes up, grabs the dog, throws it in the house, and goes, "Sorry about that, man. But
oh my God,
this is the hazards of getting youth to flyer for politics."
Yeah, exactly. Your campaign manager was only 6 at the time.
But we survived that, and we still laugh about it, right? So yeah.
Wow, that's crazy cool. Well, that's really neat. So now you are, Mr. Burnaby.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing. And with this documentary and the tour that's coming up, can you tell us a little bit about what you have planned for the next little while for DOA and for Joe Keithley?
Yeah. So we got I'm sitting at my table now, and it's covered with notes and tapes of songs. So I've written all the songs for a new album. Wow. So I'll be my bandmates Patty and Mike will get together in about 10 days. They live up in Nelson, up in the mountains. So we'll rehearse some of the stuff. So we're planning to record with Sean Holloway-Chuck at Profile this summer, but probably the fall. The album will probably get out next February, right? So we do have a couple of tours in mind, like Europe. We're going July 22nd for 16 shows over there, like a bunch of open air stuff. Play Rebellion, which is always great. And then September, we're up to Alberta and do some BC shows. And probably finish the recording to get out in February. Then we'll do a whole bunch of shows. We'll see where that takes us. And then at that point, probably by about June or July, I will be out door knocking, seeking my 3rd term as a counselor here in Burnaby. Wow. Right. So, yeah, so I've got a busy time ahead, and I'm busy with the label, so I'm still running the record label too. So that's I have 3 jobs. So yes. Some people some people might say I'm insane. I would tend to agree.
You got that musician ADHD thing going on where you're all over the place, but getting shit done for sure. It's amazing. And
yes, I didn't share much with my father's politics. He was quite right wing, but I did pick up his work ethic, obviously, right? So.
Yeah, you're a really hard worker for sure. And I really appreciate you coming on here and telling us a bit about what you're doing and where you've come from and, all of that stuff. So I know you're busy and I know you got to get back to it. So thank you so very much and happy late birthday.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
A couple of days ago, your birthday. So there you go. Yeah. So happy from Punk Globe.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great day, Joe, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Let me know when it comes out.
I will for sure.
Okay. Thanks, Danny.
Okay. Bye.